Welcome back to Mornings with Jaresha and happy Monday. Happy Monday, happy Monday, happy Monday. It is the start of the work week and I get excited about Mondays. Mondays, it just is time to put in the work, it's time to execute. It is another great day and another opportunity for us to get stuff done. So, as you start your week, I want to give you something to think about today to encourage you because we all need to feel encouraged and empowered to get up and take action. And I'm not just talking about waking up with no plan and just going with the flow. I'm talking about actually establishing a plan for today and the rest of your week. Now, for me, that normally starts on Sundays, but for a lot of us, it starts on Monday. So we're at the beginning of the month. And I like to start a few days, generally a few days prior to a new month, and just reflect and plan some more and reflect on things that I've accomplished, those things that have worked for me for the month, what didn't work, or what I needed to eliminate, what I loved that month, what served my purpose and energy, and what didn't. I also take time to look at my goals and how I either rocked them or I completely fell off. I have learned over the years how important it is to measure yourself based on your own milestones and accomplishments. Because sometimes we have a tendency to compare ourselves to other people, and we should never do that. So, every month is a new opportunity for you to have the best 30 days or 31 days or maybe 28 days of your life. But guess what? You can't just go into it blindly and say, the next 30 days, or at this point, it's 25 days, is going to be the best days of my life. There has to be intention behind it in a plan. So, how is it? How is it going to be for you? So, how is the next 25 days of your life going to be? How can it be the best days of your life? What does that look like? What will your mornings be like? What will your afternoons be like? And your evenings? What will you do in order to make sure that happens? How will you handle the lack of motivation? How will you handle the energy and the motivation killers? And what about the distractions? Because that's huge. How are you going to handle the distractions that will come your way? That is exactly why I say you have to have a plan in place and set up your intentions for success. So, if you know your goal, and maybe your goal is to kill it this month on a specific personal or work goal, and the thing is, you have to know how you're going to do it. What is your plan? How are you going to make that happen? Write it down. Think on paper, write it out, put it on the wall, put it on your mirror, in your planner, on your computer. Put it wherever you need to in order for you to see it every single day because you need to have that reminder. You need that reminder that this month is your month. This is the month that you're going to kill your goal. This is the month that you are going to have the best month, the best days of your life. This is the goal. And then make sure you also write down how you're going to get one step closer to that goal every single day. Now, I'm going to tell you that I have been using my digital planner, and I absolutely love a digital planner at this point. Absolutely love it. But I use it to keep track of my goals. And this month, I identified 8 different goals that I'm going to work on. And again, your goals don't have to be just huge goals, but you do have to create something or set a goal that's going to work for you. Okay. But make sure it's a smart goal. Make sure it's a smart goal. It's realistic. So this month, I'm working on some big and some small goals. And I'm pretty excited because I have carved out time in the mornings to work on those actionable items to help me work towards accomplishing those goals. And I do have an accountability partner. Now, that part is so very important because most of the time we have these goals, be it big goals, be it small goals, and we get off track. We get off track because we have a hard time holding ourselves accountable. So I have an accountability partner that helps me with that process. We help each other. But anyhow, what I'm saying is make sure you not only set the goal, but you're looking at how I can actually accomplish this goal. So I have carved out time in the mornings for me to be able to work on accomplishing these goals. And so far, we're 5 days in and I feel like I'm on track. But we know that there are times that we fall off that wagon, if you will. So I want to mention this because I think it's so very important, that staying on track thing. So if you're setting goals and you have to not only set the goal, but how are you planning on measuring whether or not you're on track? Now, I mentioned I am keeping track of my goals in my digital planner, but we have to check ourselves, okay? And that goes back to that accountability partner or accountability coach, someone that's going to hold you accountable because we have a hard time holding ourselves accountable. But we have to check in with ourselves to make sure we are on target. So make sure we are progressing. And I think it's interesting because I think back to when I was younger and, learned all about setting goals. And I never realized I never realized or thought that it could be this intense and so involved. And so as I got older and really got super serious, okay, super serious about accomplishing my goals. And I just, it's really been just a thing that's in my life that's been really, really serious. So I take goals very, very seriously. And I hope you do as well. But when you set a goal for yourself, it should always be a big deal. And so I've always, since learning about goals and all of that, and as I got older, I've always really tried to look at when I'm setting goals, it's a huge deal. It's a big deal that comes with rewards and consequences. And so those rewards, of course, are those incentives that we're going to give ourselves. And, once you accomplish this goal, how are you going to reward yourself? How are you going to celebrate accomplishing that goal? And then, of course, you need to have some kind of consequence as well. So if I don't hit this mark, what's going to be my consequence? So maybe, depending on what that looks like, and I'll talk about this on another show as well. But depending on what that looks like, you could easily say, you know what, I didn't hit my mark, so I'm not going to necessarily, celebrate. Once I hit this mark, then I'll be celebrating. And so, maybe your goal was if let's see, for instance, it could have been, I really want to go to the gym 3 times this week. And so if I don't go to the gym 3 times this week, then, maybe I'm not going to celebrate at the end of the week with, watching my favorite show or something like that. So we have to give ourselves some kind of consequence. But one of the things I used to struggle with is, being consistent. Now, I know I'm not the only one that I struggle with this being consistent thing. So I really lacked the consistency that I felt like got me off track. And I kept trying to understand why I felt like I was on this up and down roller coaster of trying to accomplish this goal until I realized that my why wasn't really strong enough. And another thing I realized was that I really wasn't committed like I thought I was. So I love the idea of setting the goal. However, when it came down to going through the process, going through the steps, there was, there was some things that wasn't lining up. And so I really needed to sit down and get clarity on that goal. And that goes back to the SMART goals that I mentioned, making sure you have SMART goals when you're setting your goals. So I lacked that consistency and I lacked the commitment to my goal and to myself. So I think we definitely need to understand our goal and we need to have the why that's attached to it and make sure we have a why attached to it that's really big enough, because if it's not a big enough why, then you're not going to accomplish it. Any chance you get to, give an excuse or say, you know what, I just, that's an excuse, say that I'm not going to do this. I'm not feeling motivated, you're going to take that opportunity. So you need to make sure your why is big enough, and then make a plan of action and track your progress. So I use these trackers to track my progress with my goals, my projects, and everything basically in my life and in business and, personal life and in business. Because again, we should never look at someone else's progress and measure our success by what they're doing. Try looking at where you are with your goal today versus a month ago, or 6 months ago, or 3 months ago, and then go from there. So when I was younger, I remember people always saying, practice makes perfect, but practice really makes progress. So, working on your goal is a process that you keep practicing and working at. And then you start to see your progress and keep going and see more progress. I love that feeling of making progress and knowing that although it may not be completed or accomplished yet, or where I really want to be at yet, but yet I know that I'm headed in the right direction. And you just have to keep going. Now, that what I'm about to tell you may sound like a silly idea, but I think that, by me sharing this, I hope that it's going to empower you and really help someone that's listening right now. But this is a thing that I have done to keep myself motivated. And so each one of my goals are tied to my children. And so that is my why. I know that building my empire and legacy is for my children. And so I do what I do every single day and get up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning to work on my goals, because I won't ever give up on my dreams, because I do it for them. But I always think about, my journey, and I visualize this. I'm going to share with you here in a moment. I visualize this thing. And so I used to actually run track back in, like way back when I was in high school. And so I visualize me actually running on a track, okay? And this track, if you think about it, this track is really called life. So here I am running on this track. And, in life, we always have two choices: to either keep going or to give up. And so I'm running on this track, and I visualize my children watching me run, and then I come up against a hurdle, and I have a choice either to stop or jump over that hurdle, which in life, that can be disappointments, that can be failure, that can be anything that comes in your life to try to stop you from pursuing your goals, from pursuing your dreams, from pursuing your purpose. And so I come up against this hurdle, and watching my children, they're watching me. They're watching me because they want to see how I'm going to respond to this obstacle, to this hurdle that I've come up against. And they want to see how I'm going to respond to any kind of adversity that comes in. So they're watching me. They're watching me, my every movement. They're watching to see if I'm going to throw in the towel, if I'm going to be ready to give up, if I'm going to stop. And so I keep going. They see when I reach the milestones. They are watching to see how I handle everything that comes my way. It's those moments when I feel like, you know what? I don't want to, or I don't feel like it. I am reminded about being on this track called life, that my children are watching and they're cheering me on. They're cheering me on. I go back to that vision of seeing them watching me as they're cheering me on, because they want me to get to that finish line. They are cheering and shouting and, just cheering me on and celebrating me even before I get to that finish line. But let me tell you on the flip side, because we always have someone that's in our corner, perhaps our children, our family, that's cheering us on. At the same time, we have someone, or maybe more than one person, who wants you to fail, who wants you to quit, who wants you to throw in the towel. So while we have that support system and our children are cheering us on, we often hear those other voices saying, just give up. It's too hard. You can't do it. You are going to disappoint them. You don't know what you're doing. You need to stop. And sadly, most of the time, it's our own voice of doubt. Most of the time, it's our own narrative that we listen to. But you have to let the positivity drown out the negativity, whether it's coming from the voice within you or someone else's voice. You have to know that you have to keep going no matter what. Even if it means creating your own vision and your story. Like I said, I visualize me being on a track and running and my kids watching me every step of the way and knowing they're watching me. The same time someone else is watching, wanting me to fail. But I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep pushing forward. Know that you have to keep going no matter what. You have to keep going no matter what. So even if that means you create your own story, your own vision that's going to empower you and motivate you to keep going. Now, I believe that today being Monday, and whether you have the day off or you are working today, I feel like we're always working on us in some way, shape, or form. But take some time today to work on you and your growth and your goals. Mondays for me really set the tone for the week. So it's so important to start the week off right. And that means focus. Make sure you're focused, you're determined, motivated, and ready to do the work for you because you're worth it. So I hope you're ready because it's time to work. It's time to execute. Let's get it. Let's go.